The 15th of September, it's 11 o'clock at night. Everyone in cities all across Mexico crowd into the main square of the town to repeat the cry of independence. They've been doing it for almost 200 years. They cry, Viva! Viva Mexico! Now you heard what I said. Mexican Independence Day is September the 16th. It's not the 5th of May, not Cinco de Mayo, like a lot of people in our country think that it is. And you know, I always celebrate Mexican independence on the 16th of September. You know why? Because there's this great dish that they make. And it's a dish that really everything comes into season for just at that time of year. It's called chiles en nogada, or chilies, stuffed chilies that are covered with this creamy walnut sauce. You start with the poblano chili. You make a special, luxurious, shredded pork picadillo with nuts and fruit, and some little candied fruit goes in that too. And then you make this walnut sauce, this super special walnut sauce that takes quite a little effort to put together, and you pour that over the stuffed chili. It's just an amazing dish. You talk about special occasion food. This is the specialist of special occasion food. And you know, the truth of the matter is that you can actually do it in the United States. It's not hard. All the ingredients are pretty readily available. Unlike a lot of the stuff I like to surround myself with at home. Now, I live in Chicago. It's not exactly a tropical climate, right? But I have this passion for all this tropical foliage, and I don't know how successful I am with it, but I love to have it around. Like, this is a Haas avocado. I don't know if it'll ever grow up. I got this little greenhouse, and so in the wintertime I bring it all in and stick it in there, but I don't know if it really flourishes too much. This is the Mexican key lime. This one's doing pretty good. This is the little Calamundan oranges. Wonderful to make marmalade out of, and it's had a pretty good crop this year. Some cactus there in the back town. Well, but this is my pride and joy this year. Now, this is a fig tree, and the figs are just about ripe. I'm going to make a tart with those when I get a couple more of them ripe. This is, well, I don't know. This is a banana. It's a dwarf banana. I don't know if I'll ever see any bananas on it or not, but it sure is fun to have it around. And this is coffee. I'm not going to be reliant on that for my morning cup. But this one I'm thinking might really give me something here. This is a dwarf pomegranate. I may actually get a pomegranate out of that someday. Which brings us right back to chiles en nogada. You see, you've got the stuffed chili, and you got it covered with that creamy walnut sauce. Well, the next thing that goes on is a big handful of pomegranate seeds, those deep red pomegranate seeds, and then some leaves of parsley. So you've got the white, the red, and the green, the national colors of Mexico. This was actually a dish that was created for Mexican Independence Day in 1810 or sometime around there. And they say it was created in Puebla, which is one of the reasons that you find the dish mostly in central Mexico. Pretty difficult to find here in the United States on any restaurant menus. It's just mind-boggling to think that in all the cities across Mexico, you can see this same kind of scene. I'm here in Acapulco, and where the crowd just stretches as far as I can see, clear out onto the beach. This is the night that starts the big Independence Day celebration, and tomorrow there's going to be great feasts all over the country. Now, some of those feasts will be in restaurants, especially if you're in central Mexico, and chiles en nogada will definitely be a cornerstone of those festive menus. I was just walking by this place near the square in San Angel, saw it there on the menu, decided to come in and enjoy it a little bit during this period, during this season, usually from the end of August on to about, well, a little after the 16th of September. You'll find it on all kinds of menus. I mean, in little places like this, a nice restaurant, of course, but I've even seen it in some of the chain restaurants, things that would be equivalent to our Denny's. Oh, can't say that I thought it was a really good rendition of it because it is a complicated dish to make, and it's really a dish that's all about the sauce, that creamy walnut sauce. And there's a lot of different renditions of them. Some will be, it's always cool, but some of them will be more salty and other ones will be a little bit more sweet. Some will have the flavor of sherry added to them. Some will be kind of coarse and other ones will be really smooth. I think in one of those chain restaurants one time I had a version that tasted like it had something like marshmallow fluff in it, and I thought that was completely all wrong because you really got to start with great walnuts to do it, and this is of course the time. This is a completely seasonal dish. The chili itself with its picadillo stuffing, its pork stuffing, is really pretty straightforward. You'll find those kind of things all year round. It's that sauce that everybody is always talking about. Now, when you want to find the freshest stuff in a Mexican market, especially all the really great seasonal stuff, well, I don't go into the main market building. It's that tan brick building over there. I look for the people that set up all this seasonal stuff. They may get it out of their own gardens or sometimes collect it in the wild. Things like this. Look at this. Beautiful squash blossoms, local little calabacitas or summer squash, wild amaranth greens, huitlacoche, fabulous array of stuff. But right up here, there's a woman that has, well, it's almost a one-stop Chiles in Nogada stall here. We came here to find the walnuts, but she's got everything else. Just look at this, the little local pears and quinces and apples and peaches. Now that's all fruit we're gonna come back to when we start making the filling, so remember that. But we came here for these walnuts. Now let me show you, they gotta be fresh walnuts. They are very fresh walnuts, just picked and never dried out. You can pull off this little outer tan skin really easy. Now there's a lot of prep work involved in making a classic chiles en nogada. The first thing you do is get those walnuts, but of course we don't usually get walnuts as fresh as what you see in Mexico. So the packaged ones have been dried, making that brown skin stick to the walnut meat. So we usually first will blanch the walnuts briefly in boiling water, then peel that little brown skin off of them. We've got to roast and peel some poblano chilies. Choose big ones because this is a beautiful presentation. Slit them on the side and clean out the seeds that are on the inside of them. And then boil and shred some pork. Then brown that shredded pork with a little onion. It'll take 8 or 10 minutes to get it beautifully browned. And then we're going to add all these great fruits and vegetables. I told you this was a really complex, but a beautifully complex dish with apples and peaches and pears, a little tomato, and I'm going to add some crystallized mango to it as well. Now in Mexico, you'd usually buy some candied fruit like the biznaga cactus, the barrel cactus, for a dish so special as this. I'm not sure we should be using them. There's not very many of them left in the wild. So I've chosen to do the mango, crystallized mango. All that goes in with the browned pork. Boy, what a beautiful picadillo filling, a very luxuriously fruity picadillo filling. A big handful of raisins goes in there. And if that weren't enough, there's all kinds of great spices and herbs to go in here. Mexican cinnamon, the marjoram and thyme. Pull those together and sprinkle them over the skillet. I'm going to add about 1/4 cup or so of water around the outside of the pot. Stir everything together. That water will just help cook everything evenly. We'll let that go for 10 minutes or so, and that shredded pork picadillo with all the fruit will come together into a beautiful filling. Now while that's going, I'm going to finish frying my plantain. Now you know about plantains? These are the cooking bananas. You want them to look all dark and mottled like this. They've got to be completely soft to the touch or they won't be sweet. I like to just cut the top off of them and the bottom, and then give a little shallow slice down the side, allowing this very heavy peel to easily come off of it. Okay, you see those? You just cut those right off like that. They'll occasionally find pieces that will stick. Cut it in half, and then each half in half. Cut those into little cubes, and then we're going to scoop it up and put it into a little bit of hot oil to fry it until it has turned to a beautiful, rich, golden brown. Now those plantains will be sweet and tender now. And I'm going to add, oh, we've got a little bit of almond here too, slivered almonds to go in to the picadillo along with those. Give it a nice sprinkling of salt. You got to be pretty generous here because there's a lot of filling. Stir that all up. Let it cook for another 5 or 6 minutes just to blend flavors once again, and the picadillo is finished. Well, this sauce is going to seem simple by comparison to that pork picadillo. Well, simple at least after you get all those walnuts peeled. Pour those into a blender jar and then add some milk to that. Got almost the same amount as you have those walnuts in there. Tear up a piece of bread. You don't want the crusts on that. And we're going to give it a preliminary seasoning with salt, a little bit of sugar, some sherry. Now, just a hint of sherry because it's very strong stuff, and a little bit of that Mexican cinnamon. Of course, these are all preliminary seasonings because we can go back and adjust them after we've finished the sauce. It goes onto the blender base, turn it on and let everything run until it's as absolutely smooth as it can be. No grittiness left. You'll have the best luck with a high-powered blender and very fresh walnuts. Now, when that's completely smooth, you add cream to it for richness. Now, in Mexico, you'd usually choose the crema, that cultured cream that's got a little bit of a tang as well as all the richness. Here you can buy a Mexican-style crema. And then just blend it until everything's mixed. And then taste it for seasonings and check it for consistency. Should be just nice to coat a spoon beautifully. Let's see what we did with the seasonings. I think I hit it pretty close. I think it could be a little bit sweeter. It should have a sweet edge, not be extremely sweet, but have enough salt to bring out all the flavor of those walnuts. Well, we made it all the way to the end here. Stuff the clean chilies with the pork picadillo mixture. I'm going to lay them seam side down on a baking sheet. We'll bake them just to heat them through about 20 minutes or so at 350 degrees, and they're ready to serve. Now, here in Mexico, the pomegranates look a little different than they do in the United States. They're kind of greenish yellow color on the outside. There'll be little patches that turn toward red, whereas in the grocery stores in the United States, they're completely red on the outside. But of course, if you cut them open, whether you're in Mexico or the United States, you'll find that they're beautiful crimson-colored seeds in these little lobes. We don't really think of them as anything but a little specialty item that comes out in the fall. But here in Mexico, they really treat them like a fruit. You'll find fruit vendors in the streets or in the markets that will sell whole cupfuls of pomegranate seeds and squeeze on some lime. You just eat them like that. The lime contrasts their deep, sweet, almost cherry-like flavor. And you know, when they put them over the chiles in Nogada, it's not just a little tiny pretty garnish. And they'll put a whole handful of these delicious pomegranate seeds on there. Now, I thought we needed a little something simple to start out this beautiful meal. Something that was going to be easy to make, really Mexican, and really delicious. Sopa de ajo is what came to my mind. A simple Mexican garlic soup. It starts off with a lot of chopped garlic, kind of coarsely chopped garlic, and I'm going to put it right into some olive oil. Now the olive oil is heated over a medium-low heat. We want to keep that temperature real consistent and real low so that you only see bubbles coming up that look like the bubbles of mineral water. And after about a half an hour or so, that'll turn the color of light brown sugar, and it'll be perfect and sweet. Don't cook it too fast. Now this sweet aromatic garlic gets strained from all of its olive oil, and then we're going to take the garlic and put it right into some warm chicken broth. Homemade is best in this. And then we'll let it simmer for about 30 minutes, partially covered. Now what makes the simple aromatic garlic soup so delicious is all of these fabulous garnishes. This is the smoke-dried jalapeno, the chipotle chili. I buy them in the can. Chop it up, slice it up, put a little bit of it into each of the bowls. So I'm going to add a little chopped green onion, a little tomato, fresh diced avocado. This is the Mexican queso fresco, the fresh cheese. Now this is a cheese that doesn't melt. Cutting it into cubes, and that will add a light freshness. Take it outside and ladle the warm broth over it. I'm going to take out a couple of these eggs because the eggs get beaten and added to the broth just before you ladle it onto these garnish-filled bowls. I got this dream that someday I get to sleep in a bed of ripe guavas. But it really would be just the dream I could have here in Mexico, because in the States we don't really get a chance to have good, fresh, ripe guavas. They're the most aromatic fruit in the Mexican marketplace. They got a thin yellow skin. When you cut them open, you'll see that they have this seed pod in the very middle, kind of hard seeds there. So usually people will poach them and then scoop that out because those seeds are really not very edible. But one thing I like to do is to just quarter them, throw them in a blender with some sugar, a touch of lime juice, water or milk, blend it up, strain out those seeds. It makes a wonderfully refreshing beverage. You know, it's worth buying a ticket to Mexico from August, anytime through the end of the year during the height of guava season, just to breathe in that aroma. So I need a dessert to follow these chiles in Nogada. I'm in the United States and I've got this real hankering for some good guavas. So what do? Well, I went down to the Mexican grocery store and I got a jar of these great Mexican guavas. They're poached already in a sugar syrup. Just cut them in half, and then you can hollow out that center seed pod with a spoon. Very easy to clean. And I like to cut them in half again because I'm going to make these into a little crisp. Nothing too fancy, nothing that's really going to compete with the chiles in Nogada. And I'm going to actually add some of our fall apples. What a great flavor combination with those guavas. To that, I'm going to add some guava nectar to really reinforce that flavor of the guavas. A few dried cherries for color, for texture, a little Mexican vanilla, some cornstarch to bind all those delicious juices, and then mix everything together till it's well combined. Now the streusel topping for this little guava crisp, I've decided to play around with a little bit. Of course, I'll start with butter and brown sugar mashed together to begin our streusel, but I've got some ideas for other textures and flavors. One is some cornmeal. That'll add some interest, and these great toasted pumpkin seeds, the whole kind, the pepitas. Toast them in a little skillet and then let them cool off completely. They should brown a little bit and pop up. Those are going to be so delicious in there. Now to that, we're going to add a little bit of milk some flour, salt, Mexican cinnamon, and then stir it all together until it's quite homogeneous. Now to finish the crisps, layer some of the filling in the bottom of baking dishes. These are those wonderful little earthenware ones from Mexico. Fill that up. And then, using a couple of spoons, scoop out some of the streusel and start to dot it over the top of the crisp. Now bake these at 375 degrees for about half an hour, and they'll be crunchy, crispy on top and really delicious smelling.